WNYC Studios is supported by Forward. Waiting months for a 10-minute doctor's appointment? Healthcare is backwards. Luckily, Forward is here to clear things up with on-demand access to great care backed by the latest tech and top-rated doctors. Learn more at goforward.com. That's goforward.com.
WNYC Studios is supported by Play On Podcasts, now streaming A Midsummer Night's Dream. Hear Shakespeare like you've never heard before, performed by award-winning actors in a production that breathes new life into a timeless tale. Listen today at playonpodcasts.com.
Listener supported. WNYC Studios.
This week's All of It watch party is for the Apple TV Plus streaming show Ted Lasso, about an American coach who knows next to nothing about soccer but is hired to lead a UK football club by an owner who wants to see the team fail. The owner, Rebecca, got the team in a divorce, and she wants to hurt her filthy rich ex-husband by driving the team into the ground, so she hires Ted Lasso. The one thing no one counts on is that Ted Lasso is someone you don't mind being around. Maybe at first you do because he's sort of corny, saying things to the team like, our goal is to go out there like Willie Nelson on a high. But he's a really decent human. In fact, having him around makes some things better. The show dropped during the pandemic. Ted Lasso became a hit the old-fashioned way. People watched and told other people and so on and so on. As one YouTuber wrote, quote, "You think the concept of an American football coach leading a Premier League football club would be cringe, but instead they turn the idea into the most wholesome, sweet dramedies I've ever seen." Here's an example from the show that has become a meme. It's this encounter. Coach Lasso is talking to Sam. He's a soft-spoken player who doubts himself and just messed up.
Hey, Sam, come here a sec.
Coach, I'm sorry.
You know what the happiest animal on earth is? It's a goldfish. You know why?
No.
It's got a 10-second memory. Be a goldfish, Sam.
The show is a critical hit. It broke a record when it was nominated for 20 Emmys, the first time a freshman comedy has done so. So the way the watch party works is we all watch Ted Lasso, and then we get together on Friday to discuss it on the air, and here's the best part. There's a special guest who will be at the party, one of the creators and stars of the show, Brendan Hunt, Coach Beard. Our friend, Vulture staff writer, Catherine Von Arendonk, was an early watch for the show. She's watched it rise, watched what some people think is a bit of a stumble in season 2, and she'll share her thoughts and why she thinks it's become so popular. Hi, Catherine.
Hi.
So what did you think the first time you saw Ted Lasso?
So I reviewed Ted Lasso. I watched all of the screeners. They released the full first season, and it did not have any of the stuff that it has now. It did not have this huge conversation about it with everyone sort of embracing. And I came to the show with this sense of a little bit of frustration and doubt. I was a doubter, in part because it's actually developed from a commercial, which television shows developed from ad campaigns don't have the greatest track record. And there is something a little bit something in your body just goes oh, I don't know if I want to watch this TV show based on an ad for, showing sports on television. And I felt like there was a little bit of, I was frustrated that it was once again a story about a guy who is not qualified for his job, but just gets to go do it anyhow and somehow manages to succeed. And that was my very initial impression, particularly of the first couple episodes. And by the time I had gotten all the way through the first season, there was definitely a thing where I was it did get me though. It did. Okay. All right. And it has been really fascinating watching the show become so widely embraced earlier in the pandemic. I think everyone watched it a binge style. Everyone heard, you have to watch Ted Lasso. It's so good. Just trust me. Just sit down and watch it. I promise you'll love it. And so many people did, which I think, the incredible number of Emmy nominations is testament to that. And it has been equally fascinating watching people now take this what is really a very personal, sort of private experience that everyone got to have for themselves, like just sit down and watch it all and like have their own responses to each episode and come away thinking about the show as this, 10 episode first season run. And now everyone is experiencing it one episode at a time because the second season is released serially, as TV has been for decades, but as we have sort of fallen out of habit of. And I think a lot of I'm really interested in how people are responding to the characters, I think, a little bit differently now, and how the show is pushing against what people want it to be.
As you mentioned, this origin of the series was this commercial. It was an NBC promo spot for when the network was going to air soccer. And the spot, it's really interesting because in the spot, he's edgier. Ted Lasso is a bit edgier than the character in the series. The premise is the same. American football coach attempts to coach soccer team in UK. Let's listen to about a minute of the original promo.
Hey, how you doing? This is Ted Lasso. I'm the new head coach of the Tottenham Hotspurs, and I'd like to talk to the Queen, please. My name's Ted Lasso. I'm new head coach for Tottenham Spurs. Been brought over here to implement my coaching style. Football's football no matter where you play it. You got grass, you got cleats, and you got helmets with masks on them. Football in the States is my specialty, but they have a different kind of football over here.
Kick it! Circle them up, have them put on their pads, and let's start playing for real. They're wearing their pads, Coach.
There's a lot of small similarities. A team I coach, they're going to play hard for all 4 quarters, okay?
2 halves.
What's that?
2 halves.
Okay, halves. We're going to play hard for 2 halves. And we're going to play till there's a winner and there's a loser.
Tie.
What's that?
A tie.
Okay, till there's a winner, a loser, or a tie. You can tie. If you tried to end a game in a tie in the United States, heck, that might be listed in Revelations as the cause for the apocalypse. Yeah, do we have any goals this season? Absolutely. We're going to win a lot of games. We're going to get in the playoffs.
No playoffs.
There's no playoffs.
So that fish out of water thing can only sustain us for so long. What have they done right to keep it going?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. The pilot episode of the series has some of that same energy, and they do continue to thread, like even in some of the most recent episodes in season 2, there are moments where he still doesn't understand the offsides rule. But very early, one of the crucial developments from that ad campaign into the television show was that they turned him into a person who is curious. He doesn't know anything about the show or he doesn't know anything about the sport, but he is curious to learn. It is not, I think in that ad campaign, it is, we are laughing at him because of how little he knows. And he is so dismissive of he assumes all of these things about this sport. And that it's playing into these stupid American kind of stereotypes. We just barge into other countries and tell them how to play their games. And so the show makes this really, really smart decision to give him that same ignorance, innocence and ignorance at the beginning, but to make it very, very clear that he wants to learn, is extremely excited about learning, and that the skill that we're going to enjoy, that we're going to sort of root for him to be able to develop among all of these other players, is more about the personal relationships and sort of respecting each other as people. And so he can develop and work on the flaws of this team in that way, and then have other coaches who actually understand the game work on, say, actual soccer strategy.
My guest is Catherine Van Arendonk. We're talking about Ted Lasso. We're having a watch party this week. So I'm curious, I think about the timing of this drop. It almost seems, of dropping this series, it feels like it maybe could have only happened during the Biden administration, because he's kind of like Biden meets Ned Flanders in many ways from The Simpsons.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really, I think a lot of what the show has spoken to people, a lot of the response to the show has been the way that it acts as this statue of a certain kind of positive, friendly, good-hearted masculinity, right? And it does feel like it is this response to a Trump administration. I don't think it is too much of a stretch to say that a show that is about like Americanism abroad is political. Although I have seen a lot of people who really resent the being asked to think about this show in political terms. I think one of the signs of how stressed we all are is how many people I have seen watch this show and be like, I just want to like it. It's a nice, happy show. Please do not make me like. Please do not press on all of these stressful issues. I do think, but it was in development for a long time. So even before Biden became president, like these were ideas that the showrunner Bill Lawrence was already developing. So although I agree with you that it feels Biden-y, like Biden, it is also a response to Trump.
The show's already won 3 of the 20 Emmys. They had the Creative Arts Emmys, and one was for casting, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
What's a piece of casting that you've seen that's different from casting you've seen before?
Well, the show, so it is, as I mentioned before, it is created by Bill Lawrence, who listeners may know. His sort of most famous other show was Scrubs. He had another show called Cougar Town, and he has this pattern where shows that he's interested in they seem like they have a protagonist at the start. There's like clearly a main character, and then the point of it, by the time you're a couple episodes in, is much more of a cast ensemble thing. Mm-hmm. Minor characters they figure out what that minor character's thing is, and then they suddenly become crucial elements. You fall in love with these smaller characters. And I think Ted Lasso, has a lot of that same, even in spite of the fact that Ted is more central to the show than has been the case in other Bill Lawrence shows, there is this way that the casting has already illuminated these minor characters. I don't think anyone expected a character like Keely from the very first couple episodes. She seems pretty, she is costumed to look ditzy. She seems maybe potentially insubstantial. And by the time you're several episodes in, I mean, first of all, Juno Temple is an unbelievable performer, but they have also written to her strengths, and then she becomes a real key in the series. I think Toheeb Jamo, who plays Sam Obisanya, that is another example where you can basically see that in that first season they saw him on screen and said, wow, what an incredible performer, like how great this is going to be when we can give him more screen time. And then in season 2 he has this much more crucial role, and so for me the casting is really they were able to find these performers who could blend into the background and sort of build out this team, and then the writing is able to identify what makes each of these people so special and then give them platforms. It's really lovely.
Catherine Von Arendunk is a writer for New York Magazine's Vulture. She helped us tee up our Ted Lasso watch party, which will be this Friday. Catherine, always a pleasure to have you. Thanks for coming back on.
Thanks so much for having me. I always love it.
20 years ago, on September 11, the world changed.
I said, this is it. This is the bomb. They did it.
I'm Jim O'Grady with the story of a new American who risked everything to try to take down a terrorist cell.
You have to talk like a terrorist. You have to think like a terrorist.
Blind Spot, The Road to 9/11, a podcast series from the History Channel and WNYC Studios. Listen wherever you get podcasts.